there, then we can find them better. I never even knew I could find them. I just heard of their legend for years and years. And they did not disappoint. And they somehow made it to shore. I mean, they are, this isn't like an Australian or an American pop-up company. It's kind of incredible that they got through the supply chain issues. They're prioritizing properly is what that is. Get that stuff in. Let the medicines and let them wait at the port. We need our Tim Tams.
That's all I have to say about that.
I know.
Exactly.
Can't stop watching it.
So I hire Patty. I have a group called 1001 Big Steel in Chicago. I hire Private Patty for walking tours.
You know what? We've been on the same walking tours together. I recognize you from here on.
Yes. So I've hired Walter. I've hired Anthony. Trying to get can't get a hold of Vitaly because he was been busy.
Oh,
so I hire all you guys. Yeah.
I'm fully qualified.
Yes.
We'll see how next week goes.
So maybe we can hire you this summer if you do neighborhood walking tours.
Chicago for Chicagoans.
Is that who did our Rogers Park?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thanks for being here, people. All right.
Oh, did you?
I got you, right?
We were going to go
Thank
to
you.
Pop and Grill,
Oh, you went to the falafel
they
place?
did not have seating
Okay.
in restaurant seating, so yeah, IDOF, which they used to call.
Well, they just only get to go, they have the chairs up, he told me so. But every place around it was all open.
Oh, okay.
Plus they have a screen place outside.
Like you so they told, oh, go next door to Spinks, Strings, which is around the place. Then they go a couple doors down, there is, I drove up and off, we'll go a couple doors down, there's a Philly place. So, we got places we're gonna go next time. We're gonna go,
I had
we're gonna go to Brazilian grill. Where did you eat? I drove up there.
and I'm not even Mediterranean spice.
There's a spot, we could squeeze you in here, Carol. But Carol gets squeezed in, other Carol, that Carol.
Oh, hi, Carol.
Like a pita bread?
Sure.
Yeah.
Hi, Carol. Hi. You guys got room here?
Yes.
There's a guy sitting at the end, so, or you wanna come around this way, is it easier?
All right, we're going to sit down here. There's like 3 people there that have to move, I think, right?
No, I don't know, so.
Do you want to sit here? Oh, okay, I'm gonna get him to get a drink, so I'm not gonna make you do that.
Oh,
Yeah,
they got hot, whatever works for you. Carol, they got hot toddies tonight. They didn't have hot toddies last time. There was like that, Did you go next, oh, where's Sheffield?
Sheffield's is on the corner.
Oh, because I told last time, I said, just don't go inside the inn, because the inn, they don't let you. But one lady came really early, and so I said, go to trade, sit and trade times. You know, worst comes to worst, so. But she said next time. Oh, well, that's another choice. Hey, Mary Kay, she went to Sheffield. She said they got good food there too.
On the corner.
On the
Like
corner.
barbecue.
They got barbecue. Sheffield.
That sounds good. It's just on the next corner. I was just wandering like a gypsy because I got here early.
Now we found like a bunch of places we want. There's the Brazilian grill. There's Blaze Pizza.
Oh, that's right, I did see it.
There's Cheesy's.
I was gonna go to Big City Sip or whatever that big.
Oh, Big and Little.
No, it was the big bar. Oh.
I'm boozing on my speaker.
Yay!
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Too kind.
Hey, Rick, can you see me if I stand here? Where do I stand? Here?
That's when we started 20 after because she kind of wants to stand there.
What are you doing?
I'm in.
No, it's always been.
Right now?
Not bad. Yeah. This is a full house. Last week, remember, Sheriff?
I didn't come last week.
Oh, you came the week before. Okay, so last week had more people than the week before. It was just us.
Yeah.
This week is she goes on, it gets fuller.
I was on the wait list, and then by the time I got into the wait list, it was like,
And don't wait Because even if you're on the wait list, you come here and people don't show up,
All right.
she'll let you in.
All right, everyone, welcome, welcome. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you to our internet viewers tuning in from home. Thank you to everyone who is here because that means you're vaccinated and vaccinations save lives. So thank you guys so much. Give yourselves a round of applause. As a history organization, we have a very long history of understanding that vaccines work. So I like to start every lecture in this series with that little friendly reminder.
Science rules.
Science does rule. Well, for those of you, do we have any first-timers tonight? Go ahead, chime in the comments or raise your hand. Oh, we do. Welcome. Welcome, first-timers. No one bites here. We're all very nice. This is a little nonprofit that I started 6 years ago. My name is Patty. I'm the founder and executive director. We do all kinds of history events, lectures here in the winter. We do walking tours and scavenger hunts in the summer. And it's been a long 2 years of not doing a whole lot at all. So it's very exciting to be back here in person, to be live streaming online, and to have all of you back here when you could have just done anything else for 2 years. So I really appreciate you guys. Your support means a lot to us. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. We are also entirely supported by donations. And we don't get like a lot of fancy, Pritzkers throwing money our way. So over 95% of our funding comes from attendees. So if you guys have a little bit of funding today and you want to throw us some money, we take cash, check, credit card, Square, Venmo, firstborn babies, anything I can exchange at the bank, really. They don't like the babies, but I got a guy. But all jokes aside, our organization is designed to make Chicago history affordable and accessible to everyone. So if you don't have cash to spare, thanks for being here. Please leave us a nice review online. Now, this whole series this winter is called Chicago Obscura, and part of the reason I wanted to come up with this theme of kind of overlooked and oft forgotten or neglected histories of Chicago is because most of our speakers and tour guides have spent the last 2 years stuck inside nerding out. So this gave them a platform to talk about some things they really wanted to talk about, or in Lance's case, things he begrudgingly talked about because I told him he had to. So speaking of Lance, our guest speaker tonight is Lance Baker. He is a tour guide. He is an actor. And he's here to tell you guys tales of the Chicago stage. So who knows what this will entail, but it's going to be a good time. So thank you guys again for being here, and please give it up for Lance.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Pat. Such a smoky jazz club atmosphere. I feel like just getting nice and close to the mic and really rocking you hep cats. Sorry, I'm probably screwing up your balance. I'll try to hold still. Okay, start with a joke. Get a read of the room, and I'll ask you the question. You'll figure out why in a second. It's kind of a riddle. Why did they tear down the football stadium in Warsaw? In Warsaw. No, but I am from Wisconsin. I appreciate the reference. The Warsaw Insurance Company with the USA. No, I remember.
Why?
Because everywhere you sat behind a pole. We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna have a really good time. It's nice and relaxed. I like it. I did do this before taking the stage. I just popped into the bathroom. As I said, science rocks. And I showed this to Patty, and she was like, "You're making me nervous, Lance." And I'm like, "Why?" She says, "People are going to think you have COVID." This is so they don't think I have COVID. So I know showing that off and talking about it is going to make certain people feel a certain way, and other people feel another way. And my biggest advice is just feel any way that you want to. throughout the whole night. In fact, some of you right now are going, is he going to wear the mask for the whole thing? Patty wasn't wearing her mask. I am not going to wear it through the whole thing, but I wanted to wear it to start off because I've been thinking a lot about masks as an actor. There are masks involved in so many different ways, so many different styles. And some people feel a certain way about the mask, don't they? Everybody's got some really wacky opinions about masks, and it's always kind of puzzled me. I'm assuming that everybody, or most everybody in this room, feels as though, well, the scientists have decided that it's a good thing to do and it will help stop spread and all of that. And other people feel other kinds of ways, and the political landscape's so divided. Neither side isn't even talking to each other, isn't even understanding each other. Everybody's minds are blown. How could you wear that? How could you put that on your child? How could you not? You know, it's a really intractable issue. So, I've been thinking a lot about masks and their power, because I think the other side thinks that they do have power, and I think that's why they don't like it. It makes them feel a certain kind of way. I mean, when you're watching like a romantic comedy on the Hallmark Network or something, two lovers strolling down the street, and suddenly two guys with masks on turn the corner. Or are they there to bring candy? No. They're there to cause trouble, obscure themselves, hide. Anyway, I'm an actor and I'm not a writer, and I'm not a researcher.
Yes, you are.
I am not. I mean, thank you, Patty. She gave me her library card. I don't know if that's legal. Am I outing you right now? She gave me her library number and her PIN. Oh, thank you, thank you. And I
You
was,
know they're free.
I know they are. I know, and I got one right down my street. I just cannot bring myself to do it. I've got so many books in my house. I can't. Okay. But I still kept putting it off, and then finally I put her library number and her PIN on the website, and instead of going to the Chicago Public Library, where did it go to?
Chicago Tribune.
Chicago Tribune, like all the historical articles from the Chicago Tribune. There's an online database. I never knew. I've never worked in media or giving guided tours of places. I don't know who gave you that permission. Does that come with the library card? Wow. So as soon as I saw that, my mind was blown. I got so excited. I immediately got to work looking up every single bad review I've ever been given on the Chicago stage. I did that the first night and the second. But yeah, I like acting. I like being told what to say and where to move, because that's freeing, much like the mask is. I'll get into it. We're going to talk a little bit about masks. Disclaimer, due to nervousness, there's things may happen. There may be long pauses. I may say something really stupid. I probably have already. But there's good reason to believe that when I become accustomed to my new surroundings and cease to fear fate and to doubt myself, that nervousness will disappear. All right. I guess it started with the Greeks, right? Well, they were the first ones to do it in a theatrical setting. And the Greeks gave us all kinds of theater. They had three kinds. They had the comedy, they had the drama, and they had the...
Tragic.
Oh, sorry, yes, comedy, tragedy. That's the two masks we're all familiar with. But there was a third Greek kind of play called the satyr. And that was the dirty one. That was the one with Polish jokes. It was ribald and a lot of bad words, whatever was cool to be bad at that time. It's a satyr play, and that's named after the half man, half goat, very randy goat boy, kind of a sexually obsessed character, and that's where the word satire comes from, out of the satire, the Greek mythical being. Started up in Athens. This is like the 5th century BC, although masks go back all the way. You look at pottery, you look at excavations. They would use it for hunting. The Native Americans. We didn't have a statement of what lands we're doing this on. I'll look it up after. But they also believed that by putting on that mask, you embodied the animal, and it made them easier to hunt, right? So there was power there. Obviously, religious ceremonies throughout history. Sometimes those were the only place you'd ever see a mask. Was when someone was either representing a deity or using it to hide from a deity. You know, there's power. But then in the 5th century, they started theater, and it sort of wove out of those religious ceremonies, which were there to worship the Greek god Dionysus, who was the god of theater and arts, and it's a real chicken and the egg situation. Which came first, the theater or the worshiping Dionysus? It probably was a very smooth blend of the two, until eventually you were telling great stories of the gods, and you'd wear the god mask to make yourself look more godly. But then at the end of the ceremony, you'd throw it into the fire. You'd burn it, because it had that kind of power, you know. Once an actor embodies a mask and a mask embodies an actor, it's difficult to look at a mask the same way again. And I think, and it's also part of that Dionysian fuck it attitude, just toss it in the fire at the end, you know. Only men, of course, and there was usually 3 men plus a chorus, right? And the chorus was unmasked, and there were singers and dancers. For a lot of people going to see a Greek show nowadays, if you go to see like Oedipus or something like that, the chorus is like the most boring part. Mostly just people standing and going, it was, I've never done any Greek, but I don't speak Greek. But there were only 3 actors playing all the other parts. So that's another way that masks would come into play, because it would make it easier to tell them apart. Also, the structure of the mask was very exaggerated, so that they could play to the back row of these huge amphitheaters. And you know, there was, when you wear a comedy one for comedies, dramatic ones for drama. I don't know what they were for satires. Probably a mask making fun of masks. I've seen a few of those. And then, it's sort of, I think the next major example would be the No Theater. Oh, that's Chinese, right? Japanese. Oh dear, I should have looked that one up. I did, but it didn't transfer to my notes. But the No Theater, that also uses masks. In fact, masks that were created centuries ago. Stylized, designed, handed down through the generations. Other mask makers would make duplicates. So there's like thousands of duplicates of this one mask made 600 years ago. And the performer, and there's only one, so he needs the masks. He lays them all out in front of him, all the duplicates. And to our naked eye, they all look the same. But to him, he goes into this thing where it's called distant vision. And he stares at the mask, sometimes for hours, to figure out exactly which one is going to speak to him and through him on the stage. And then there's a few instruments and a chorus of singers making an unholy racket, if you've ever heard any No Theater. And I don't know if I recommend it. It certainly is a great tradition, but it's a little like... too performance arty for me. The original performance art, you know, is I've moved beyond, I suppose. No literally means talent, skill, craft in the art of performance, and yeah. And then the Commedia dell'arte, that was what was that? 16th to 18th century. That was Italian. That's where it started, and it was like the first time you could be an actor and make money, and the last time, if my bank account is any indication. But it was like it was accepted. It was no longer sort of low or just ceremonial. You know, you could actually go out and earn a good living and still maintain your credibility as a citizen. Also in Italy, there were more dialects or more variations on the language, so it sort of necessitated a different kind of mask for each different kind of character. You know, the doctor, the pantalone, which was always the old guy. There would be one of every one of the archetypes, the clever maid or manservant. And then there were always two lovers, which was kind of a new thing to do in the theater. And the lovers never wore masks. Why? Because Italians are hot. They would cast the most gorgeous man, the most gorgeous young woman, you know, the best-looking ingenues, and they would be full of life and have all kinds of wonderful songs with even more flowery language than was normally employed. But like I said, there were so many different dialects. You needed those archetypes to sort of communicate to people of all different variations on the Italian language. Oh, and it was also the start of improv, which we think of Chicago as being so full. And we will get to some Chicago pretty soon. I'm gravitating towards that. I know you came here to hear a certain kind of thing. I got a little something over here to take care of that. But this is going to get more Chicago and more obscura, I guess. You know why the Commedia dell'arte used masks in their performances? To obscura the face. Just came up with that one, can you tell? Masquerades baffle me. You know, those fancy dinner parties, you ever see eyes wide shut, right? Everybody's got a mask on their face. Apparently, I mean, ostensibly, it's to cover up your identity. Not to scare people, but to hide yourself from scandal. But all those people were rich. Didn't they know each other already? I don't know how this little thing over the eye is on a stick. I don't know. I'm gonna have to do a deeper dive on that. And Halloween, of course, a big mask tradition. That started up with old Celtic festivals back in the day because it was a sort of a celebration. It was the final night for the dead to have vengeance. And once November flipped around, then suddenly all the dead were gone. So you wore a mask to scare the ghosts back. You did it so they wouldn't be able to recognize you and impart any vengeance for whatever you may have performed in their life, whatever misdeeds you've done, and prevent them from entering your house. Donnie Darko, Les Vampires, Phantom of the Opera, V for Vendetta, Scream, Friday the 13th, Star Wars, right? Sometimes I think that's what the anti-maskers see is just Darth Vader's walking down the street, left and right. It scares them. Bane. Couldn't even understand that guy. Can you understand me, by the way? Okay. I talked with a mask maker just the other day, 2 days ago. Yeah. And he gave me all kinds of great insights. I really pressed him on this question of what is it that gives masks their power, and he kind of explained it to me like, okay, so you from conception to birth, you got 9 months, and you're growing, and your brain's growing, your limbs are growing. But you don't know you're a person. You don't know who the president is. You don't know if another Star Wars sequel is coming out. But once you're born, suddenly it's like the 9/11 of your early life. It's like everything shifts. Suddenly there's light, you know, and things are hitting your face, and suddenly there's air. You used to be encased in amniotic fluid. Suddenly there's air going over. What is this? What is that? And then there's stuff down there, and it's cold and it's bright, and there's moving. Everything's moving, and something is screaming. Something is screaming their head off, and it's so close to your. It sounds like it's coming from inside because it is coming from inside you. Just a terrifying moment, and it takes a long time for that little wiggly thing to sort of get their bearings on what the rules of this world are, you know. And one of the first ways that that's done is they start looking to your face. You know, babies aren't there staring at your feet all day. They're looking at your face. Probably mostly because that's what's, you know, sort of the thing they see all the time. And then there's a baby. What happens? Everybody just gathers around and sticks their face in the baby's face and goo goo gaga and you know, and suddenly you start to think, well, and when your eyes aren't focused too much, those are the only things you can see, you know, until the eyes completely develop to see, you know, see far away. And if mommy's face does this, that's good. If daddy's face does that, that's bad, right? That's how you start picking up cues and learning how to behave. I remember when my son was an infant and he was in his crib, he was crying, and often, you know, my usual impulse is to just, you know, pick him up and comfort, you know, pat him on the back and shake him around, give him some food if I think it's time. But there was one night where I just sort of hovered over his crib and looked at him, and he was crying, and I thought back to something my grandma said about my brother, because he was a big crier, and she was like, well, he wouldn't be doing it if he wasn't enjoying it. And that just sort of blew my mind. I loved that. Why does a baby doesn't do anything if it doesn't make them happy? They don't know any better. So I was staring at my son Noah, and I started crying with him. Like he would go wah, and I go wah, and he'd go and I go ah. And he really did calm down after a certain while. We had an interesting conversation. I mean, it's partly just because he was probably just studying my face, getting signals. You know, obviously, I'm trying to lead up to something here, and I'm not really sure what it's going to be. But it has something to do with acting. It has something to do with wearing a mask. It has something to do with. When the face is masked or hidden, one is less timid, feels freer, more daring, and insincerity is quickly apparent. I wanted a chance to sort of wear this mask in front of you to see what it did to me. I took a mask class once, it was fine. But I just didn't understand. I thought it all seemed so outward, you know? Like, what is a mask supposed to do to me, necessarily? I could never quite put that together. I'm weird. Or I didn't learn the no technique of staring at them for 2 hours and letting it sort of inform me, you know. No way I'm staring at one of these for 2 hours. Masks afford the audience a means of exploring thoughts and feelings buried deep in the mind. They rip through the barriers of the ego and allow preconceived notions of the self to be stripped away. Wouldn't you love it if, you know, some anti-masker was like, I don't know why you're wearing that. And you'd go, well, masks afford you a means of exploring thought and feelings buried deep in the mind. I'm going to commit this to memory the next time. The fact that the mask gives you something to hide behind makes it unnecessary for you to hide. Because you are in safety. You can go into danger. This is Peter Brook, by the way. All theater is, famous director. All theater is based on that. Because there is greater security, you can take greater risks. And because here is not you, and therefore everything about you is hidden, you can let yourself appear. So take that. Take that out with you. Don't think of this as a restriction. Don't get worried about, oh, I'm breathing my own air. No, allow it to inform your body, your muscle. I'm in a play right now. The production of West Side Story. We just started rehearsals 2 weeks ago up at the Marriott Lincolnshire, and I just on their Instagram or whatever, there's a list of one of those, they always put out a poster of the cast, the whole cast with all their headshots on it and their names underneath. And I was like, I've been working with these people for 2 weeks. I had no idea any of them looked like that. Because I've been interacting with them from sort of the neck down, you know? And that's what mask work in theater is meant to encourage, is to take away that sort of dependency on the face that we get when we're children, when we're little, you know? In fact, this mask maker I talked to, he said the hardest mask to make was the neutral mask. All masks, which are used in like classes, mask classes, I guess you call them, have eyes and a nose and a mouth, and they cover up the entire face. But what you don't want is to make a neutral mask that has any shade of feeling or emotion And it's the most difficult thing for a mask maker to do. They can make dragons, they can make pantalones and the Greek masks and whatnot, but that is sort of like the final the final episode of Master Chef. Make me a mask that makes me feel nothing, so that then everything you produce on that stage is a part of you, a part of using your whole body, you know. And I guess to close out this chapter, I do feel as though I've always felt that acting is a power. To stand on the stage. First of all, it's weird. Look at me, everybody, shut up. Look at me. That's a weird job. But two, don't look at me. I have a mask, even if it's not a literal one. It's a character. It's a role you're playing, you know. And growing up, I never really wanted to be looked at, because that probably meant in 2 seconds I was going to get my ass kicked, you know. Or if I was going to be looked at or listened to, I wanted it to be on my terms. So that is why I wore the mask up until now, and I think we're ready to start another chapter. How does this make you feel? Does this make you feel a certain kind of way? Good? Bad? Maybe? In the middle? I don't know. Oh, thank God.
Makes us feel jealous.
Yes. Yes. Well, has anything ever wonderful happened to you? And somebody says, I'm jealous of you, and you say, I'm jealous of myself. I kind of feel jealous of myself. And I'm jealous of the me and the we that we're all going to be once we do get to the other side of it. I know it's taken a long time, but there is another side. All right, so Patty gave me some suggestions. We're going to get Chicago. We're going to get Obscura. We're going to talk about sort of SNE Studios. Is anybody familiar with? Yeah? Yeah? Oh, wow.
We visited.
Well, I'll skip it then. So that's on Argyle, up at
Yeah, on the south side of Argyle,
okay.
western Broadway.
And is that facing with the SNA logo facing Argyle? Okay.
Yes.
I must have walked past it a bunch of times, because that's where the Green Mill is, you know. That's,
Well, the Green Mill's on Broadway south. There.
no, right, but it's sort of around the corner. Not long a walk.
Yeah, sort of.
Sort of. Uptown Theater, you know, that kind of locale. Sort of a north side entertainment metropolis at one time or another. And there's a really, I don't have a whole lot to say about it, but there's a really great quote by the one and only Charlie Chaplin. Quote by Charlie Chaplin. I thought he did silent films. Stop being so literal. No, this was in his autobiography. But I'm going to lead up to that. But Charlie Chaplin, I mean, you can't even imagine. I couldn't even imagine when I started. First of all, I never knew he made any movies in Chicago. I didn't really know anything about SNA. But Charlie Chaplin was a megastar. I don't think we even have a star as big right now as Charlie Chaplin used to be. I mean, there were keychains, there were magazines, there were duplicates of his little tramp costume, right? You could buy those. Go to the Woolworths and get your own Charlie Chaplin. In fact, when he came here to Chicago, he came with next to nothing. Not because he was poor, just because he was weird. And he knew that he was being put up by a friend of his and had all his needs taken care of there. But he didn't pack a little tramp costume. So he and his agent went to like a Woolworths and bought himself one of the off-the-rack Charlie Chaplin costumes. And you wonder, why can't you just send a guy out? Well, why not go yourself? No one recognizes you. No one recognized Charlie Chaplin when he didn't have the mustache on. It was amazing. I would love that. He arrived and he said, I think I'm going to like it here, he told the Chicago Tribune reporter in early January 1915 is when he arrived. And he'd left a previous studio, the name escapes me, where he was getting paid tens of thousands of dollars. here at SNA. He was going to get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars. Nice people, nice studio, etc. With conditions favorable, a man can do so much better work, you know. He'd been working out in California at the SNA that they had out there in Niles, which is a little place a little bit close to San Francisco. And he didn't like it so much up there because it was just sort of built, you know, they bought a huge lot, a huge parcel of land out in the middle of nowhere, and it was too far away from the pretty girls, I think is what it was. Just too far away from like a nightlife and civilization. He was a swinger. He was an outgoing kind of guy. When he came to Chicago in 1910, when he was on the vaudeville circuit, before he had probably even thought about doing movies, he was well known for casing out the dancing girls that were occupying the same hotel as his on Wabash. Yeah. But things turned sour pretty quick, and of course it was about money. I mean, he was promised like a huge signing bonus and a much like a 10 times larger salary than he was making before. I hope I can. SNA is spelled ESSANAA, but it's named after George K. Spoor and Gilbert M. Anderson, both of them who were kind of local. They were Midwestern guys. And the S in Spoor and the A in Anderson became SNA, but they spelled it out. Had two Indians facing each other on the front of it. Yeah, it was very typographically interesting. George K. Spoor was just a technical guy. He made projectors. In fact, he was the first guy to be able to throw an image up against a big screen for a whole audience to see. It was around about the same time that Edison had his, I think it was called a kinescope. But that was just one at a time. You look through a little peephole. So George K. Spoor was a real progenitor. I don't even know if that's a word. Gilbert M. Anderson was Bronco Billy, and he made dozens of movies, and he was a big hit. Bronco Billy, I don't know, he started up the idea of filming, you know, horses and great landscapes, and Bronco Billy was just a colorful character that the American people loved because the myth of the Old West was still very fresh and probably still happening in a lot of places. In 1903, he was one of the stars of 1903's Great Train Robbery. Which was a 12-minute master, like a mega master, like a 12-minute epic compared to what was being done at those times. I mean, back in those times, you know, you were lucky to get a newsreel and maybe a shot of some dancing girls in a theater or something, but you never got like a movie that was telling a story that had a beginning, middle, and end. You know, that was edited together to communicate a tale, a plot. And he was the star of that. He was one of the Great Train Robbers. Ended with the guy pointing the gun at the screen and shooting. I watched it on YouTube the other day. Of course, it's public domain by now, but I watched it on YouTube the other day, and I'd heard about the shot, but I'd never seen it before. And it doesn't happen as in the course of the movie. It happens at the very end, like it's the stinger, like it's the goodbye. And you know, apparently, like the great thing was back in those days, you know, 1903, audiences ducked. Like, you know, it was like the first jump scare or something. You know, it's like they really thought they were getting shot by that guy. So Gilbert M. Anderson, he was an actor, and the guy who brought Chaplin in, who talked him into coming and joining SNA. George K. Spoor was the tech guy and the bank guy, the money guy. But once Chaplin arrived in Chicago, there was no K. Spoor to be found. He wasn't returning his phone calls. Apparently, he had his phone on vibrate or something. And Charlie was already none too pleased. Francis X. Bushman, does that sound? I wasn't familiar with this gentleman, but apparently he was a big silent movie star. Then a great star with SNA. This is a Chaplin quote. Francis sensed my dislike of the place. He said, "Whatever you think about the studio, it is just the antithesis. but it wasn't. I didn't like the studio, and I didn't like the word antithesis. But it was a factory, right? In fact, but it was kind of it wasn't called SNA Studios. What was it called? SNA Film Manufacturing Company. Wow. How Chicago is that? Right? That's meat and potatoes work right there. And half of it was devoted to, the technology of film. The other half was like these big rooms, the studios that they'd shoot their comedies in. Chaplin took one, as soon as he arrived, somebody handed a script to him. He was like, I don't do scripts. Or I don't do scripts that are written for me. I write my own shit. He immediately went to the center of the room and put on a pair of clogs and started doing like a 5-minute dance, just jumping around the room, and everybody's just staring at him. What's going on? He's like, let's go, I'm ready, let's go, I'm ready, get your shot. He was very high energy gentleman. Who else worked there? SNA was the first Christmas Carol. The first time the movie Christmas Carol was ever shot in America was at SNA. First Sherlock Holmes movie. First Jesse James movie. First Wallace Beery. He was one of the stars of SNA. Wallace Beery, you guys like Coen Brothers movies? Anybody see Barton Fink? Wallace Beery, wrestling picture. What do you need, a road map? Check it out, it's good. And Gloria Swanson. The great Gloria Swanson, the Chicago gal herself, also worked out of there. And Chaplin, God bless him, tried to get her to be funny. Like he just stood there kicking her ass like over and over, and she's like, oh my God, it was like she felt like she was an elephant playing with a trained poodle. So Chaplin arrives Christmas 1914, and he leaves February 1950. He only signed a year deal here in Chicago. Which, he must have been, he had that kind of stature to sort of get away, because usually studios would like to, sign you up for life and throw away the key. But he signed off on a year deal. He was already on the outs with Spohr over the cash. He finally got it. His first and only picture that he shot in Chicago was called His New Job. That's the one he started with the clog dance. And there's a moment where a door opens, and if you go back to Argyle, you can see that same apartment building across the street that you see through the door of the shot in His New Job. And just how about that? Because it was his new job, I just love that about it. That he definitely wasn't handed the script. He was simply using the material that he had at his disposal. He was using stuff out of his own life, which makes an artist in a lot of ways. All right. It didn't last long. Chaplin left. The SNA kind of struggled along for a little while. The Great Depression happened, and he wasn't. The problem was, it was kind of like it was like a pipeline, like Charlie Chaplin. He was getting paid tens of thousands of dollars at his first studio. SNA offered him hundreds of thousands of dollars. He got big, and then he went and worked for another studio for millions of dollars. And that pipeline just kept happening over and over. And George K. Spohr Gilbert was long gone for California, because that's where. Oh, what did Chaplin say? He said, that it's too damn cold in Chicago. And if it's winter, you got to shoot a winter picture. If it's summer, you got to shoot a summer picture. In Los Angeles, you can shoot year round. It's not just because they're pampered actors, but that's part of it. Oh, speaking of pampered actors, thank you for my request for the rose gold microphone. That was the only thing in my rider. And SNA, they made a whole bunch of more movies. This is about the time that Universal was starting up. Carl Laemmle. He was the guy who made the first movie theater in Chicago that wasn't in the loop. It was at Milwaukee and Division, built 1906. It was called the White Front Theater. Eventually became a Foot Locker. And then they tore the Foot Locker down in 2015, put up a big mega apartment building with retail at the bottom, and in that retail space, you will find a footlocker. I saw it on Google Maps. Thought it was hilarious. That's all I got on Chaplin. And how are we doing on time? Where are we at? Doing great? There's a couple more good quotes. These are other actors talking about working at SNA. There was an actress named Bain, something Bain? I cut it out. She described her early films as awful and recalled the seemingly random way they were produced. Quote, most of the time there wasn't even a script to work on. Chaplin had the opposite problem for some reason. The director and a sort of idea man just worked it out as we went along. In the silent movies, we didn't learn lines, we learned the story's continuity and how to put ideas across with expressions and gestures. We were just talking about that. And one of her co-stars, Mr. Bushman, recalled those days more fondly. He said, in the old days, we acted with a capital A. We had to let people we had to let people all over the world know what we meant when we shook a fist or smiled or breathed deeply. The pantomime we used was the Esperanto of the times. And how do you explain Esperanto to? You guys ever heard of Esperanto? Yeah? No? You haven't heard of Esperanto, Patty? Jeez. That's the language that the only movie ever made in Esperanto starred William Shatner. It was supposed to turn into the universal language of humankind. Didn't go so well. It was but of course, he'd be the one to do it because Star Trek is so like future perfect, you know. So Spohr shut down the studio later on in an interview because he still lived in this apartment on Argyle till he died. I mean, he wasn't the lavish guy. And he was asked if he goes out to the movies, and he said, "Movies? No, young fellow, I don't go to the movies much anymore. You see, there are only about 30 stories in the world, and I guess I know them all by heart." Oh, this is from the review of the new job. There was a movie reviewer in the Tribune named Kitty Kelly. Way too early to be the Kitty Kelly that wrote the Frank Sinatra bio or anything like that. But this is from 1915. So the movie starts. Chaplin just shows up at the movie studio and tries to get a gig. You know, he's a nobody. He sits in the lobby, he waits, he flirts, he fights, he waits, he smokes, he slapsticks a bit, and he does more waiting. And then Kitty Kelly describes the next here. And you're about to get your new favorite word. Chaplin finally climbs to an audience with the powers within, from which he is plunged to the studio, where his mission seems to be a stage-rustling sort until he has knocked everybody over with a plank and generally disarranged all the feelings that are feelingable. The great Kitty Kelly. Feelingable. All right. We'll get... okay, I'll do the Chaplin quote. He wrote these are all taken from his autobiography. Chicago was attractive in its ugliness, grim and begrimed. That's another good one. Begrimed, feelingable. This was a city that still had the spirit of frontier days, a thriving, heroic metropolis of smoke and steel, as Carl Sandburg says. The vast plains approaching it are, I imagine, similar to the Russian steppes. Damning with faint praise there. It had a fierce pioneer gaiety that enlivened the senses, yet underlying it throbbed masculine loneliness. Anyone else here feel that in their core? Just me. All right, we're gonna do insel. It's insel, right? Not insol. You know? Okay, so where I got that Polish joke from, I did double-decker bus tours for a long time, for a few years, and that's how me and Patty got together, because the pandemic hit and then the buses shut down for like the whole year. They started up again this year, but now it's a recorded voice. I don't have a job there anymore. Yeah, it's just the modernization of everything. But I got a lot of good jokes out of it. And that's how me and Patty left, because she was knew she was going to have to go online too. So she was calling around to all the places that had shut down, and wondered if anybody could do a little speech on this or that. And I think it was very early in the day when she told me about Insel. Does that name sound as a Chicago figure? Insel? Samuel Insel? Help? Yeah? Okay. What do you know?
I think he started the electric grid or owned the electric company or something like that, became millionaire, billionaire, or something like that.
Electric grid, yeah, millionaire, billionaire. He was a captain of industry, as they called them, right? Yeah. Not only did he own the electrical grid, but he also he's responsible for a lot of it. Born in 1859, died in 1938. He was a British-born American business magnate. You know, that kind of guy. Innovator and investor. Maybe he was like an early Elon Musk. I'm thinking that might be part of it. He greatly contributed to creating the integrated electrical infrastructure in the United States. Born in London, transplant. His dad was a preacher and a tradesman, active in the temperance movement. Insel never drank. He was a real teetotaler. Is that the right way to use that, teetotaler? He started out being an apprentice clerk for a lot of local businesses. He started working at age 14, became a stenographer at Vanity Fair, and he slowly got a job working as an assistant to a guy who worked with the Edison Company in America. And he learned that the opening was opening up. An opening was opening. I think that makes sense. To be Mr. Edison's, the big guy, Mr. Edison's personal secretary, and he pursued it, took the job. 1881, age of 21, he crossed the sea, came to New York first. Edison had pop-ups all over the place. Insel grew a bunch of side whiskers to make himself look older. That's adorable. And he just started taking on increasing responsibilities. He eventually got himself into the position where he wanted to be named the president of a company. He got vice president. He said, that's not good enough. I'm going out to Chicago to lead the Chicago version of the Edison Company. So, moved to Chicago, 1892. The Western Edison Light Club. Obviously, ComEd. Commonwealth Edison is what that's short for, so this goes way back. What else? This was his trick, though, because the power plants weren't making any money for some reason, and he figured this out. He figured it out on a flight that he was taking during Christmas back to England. When he landed in England, he noticed that all the shops, all the stores, still had their lights on, even though the stores were closed, which is something you never saw in America. As soon as you closed up your shop, you closed all the lights down. And he went to the guy, who was the guy? The head of the town's electric company, of course. They would get together, talk shop. There's no name. And he said that the secret wasn't a flat rate bill. Because in London, it was a meter. We're all familiar with meters now, but they kind of started it up in London, so that there were high traffic times and low traffic times. And if you were using electricity during low traffic time, then you would pay less. You used it during high traffic time, you paid more. So that's why lights were left on, because it was really cheap to run electricity at night. But even though Insel took a bunch of years to figure how to work this, he brought it back to Chicago, and he delivered 2-tier electric rates, and many homeowners found their bills lowered by 32%. I'm partially kind of riding the line of, is this a good guy or a bad guy? And we're going to go back and forth, so strap in. Keep your hands and arms inside the ride at all times. He used it to buy out the Commonwealth Electric Light and Power Company, so come together, Commonwealth Edison. That happened in 1907. That's when they formally merged. And he started buying the utility infrastructures of the city. He believed in monopolies, because he believed in delivering, he believed in efficiency. he wanted things to have no redundancies, and the more everything sort of worked together under a centralized power, the better everything would work for everybody concerned, and you could deliver power even cheaper to the people, you know. But a monopoly is a monopoly, and he kind of realized that the government is probably going to start riding his butt on that. So he sort of invented the theory of there being sort of public monopolies, or at least there's a word for it, natural monopolies, using power and energy and things like that to create monopolies. But he was a very big proponent of government regulations to keep everything in line and to make sure that everything was done fairly and equitably. So not quite he certainly lived a lavish lifestyle and enjoyed it, but he also had good ideas and seemed to have his heart in the right place. He bought a bunch of railroads, helped modernize those railroads. South Shore Line, North Shore, Milwaukee, yeah. Elgin, Gary, yeah, modernized those railways. And the money started piling up. He had an interest in broadcasting. So when you're rich, you spend a lot of time hanging around arts organizations and being on boards and things like that, going to fundraisers. I'm sure some of you have experienced that occasionally. And he got right in with the Chicago Civic Opera. And he wanted to broadcast operas. He thought that would be an enjoyable thing, so he started up Chicago's first radio station in order to broadcast Chicago Civic Operas. That would be, it was called KYW. That's not enough letters. No, anyway, it was early days. The year used to be 999. Not enough numbers. And started buying up all, building and buying up any other radio stations that were going on. Okay, so this is it's going so well for Samuel Insull, but then the crash, 1929, everything fell apart, and especially, things like public utilities. People didn't have any money to pay for their electric bills, and things just started to dry up, just collapsed. He was also big into holding companies, which I barely understand because I'm an artist. So he sold the radio station, sold whatever he could to try to get himself out of debt. But just before the crash, he's so good at raising money. He was selling shares in stocks or whatever, bonds, whatever you call it when you sort of try to spread the wealth a little bit from a utility company. But just as people were paying for that stuff and putting all their money into it because of such a profitable business, of course, the stock market collapse happened. Like 600,000 people lost their life savings in the crash, and that caused a lot of public anger. And Insull fled the country. He went to France, I think, and then they tried to get him extradited, so he went to Greece. Which didn't have an extradition policy at the time. He was eventually caught fleeing to Turkey and brought back to the United States. And the person who went with him on that amazing voyage was his wife, who we are really here to talk about. Because when Patty told me this story, the way it sort of came across to me was that here was this rich businessman who married this actress, gave her everything she wanted, gave her a lavish lifestyle. It wasn't enough. He built her an opera house so she had a place to sing her crappy songs because she wasn't very good. That story, right? Does that story sound familiar?
It's the boat tour story.
Is it a boat tour story?
Yeah, that's the boat tour story.
When you gave boat tours, you would tell that story?
Yeah.
Oh, because you would go right under the opera house, right? And that's where you could see the throne, right? The two arms. See, the bus tours, we couldn't show that side of the building. We had to stick it out on Wabash there, or no, Wacker. Yeah, the building is built in the shape of like a throne, if you see it from the river. On the front, it just looks like a normal, huge, beautiful building with great frescoes and whatnot. But on the other side, it's what you're seeing from the street is like the back of a chair, and there's like two office complexes on either side. So it looks like a big chair, a big throne. They called it Insull's throne. And the idea was that They were the back of it was facing, of course, because it's on Wacker, the north-south Wacker there. It's facing to the east. The back of the chair facing to the east, which is kind of like a FU to New York and saying, hey, we can do opera here too, you know, because New York at the time was the opera capital of the world, probably, at least of the Americas. You let me know if I don't get any of that right. But eventually, he was living a nice bachelor life, well into his 30s, not well into, maybe started out his 30s as a bachelor. And he met, whoop, did I have it already? Yeah. Her name was Margaret Anna Bird. And that was her real name. She changed it to Gladys Wallace as her stage name, which seems like it should have been the other way around. I don't know. That's just a personal choice. But she was born 1875, so 17 years, Samuel Insull's Jr. He'd seen her in a show. She was a pretty hot stuff actor. Done some stuff in New York, stuff in Chicago, stuff in Waukegan, stuff in St. Louis. They, actors, you needed to be on the road. You would do one show and you'd take it out and do it all over the place. And they met personally at a party where Gladys was brought in at the last minute. Like if you were throwing like a fancy dinner party and you had like a bunch of tables and somebody calls and cancels, that empty chair is like death. It will get you eliminated from every single social circle you ever occupied. So they're getting on the phone frantically, called Gladys. Gladys, throw on your best dress. Come on over. Okay, so she came on over. Now, Gladys eventually got the nickname Pocket Venus because she was just a hair over 5 feet tall, weighed 97 pounds. But she was gorgeous. She had actress looks, absolutely, and spunkiness. And an intelligence to her, and she was just very attractive on and off the stage. So eventually they actually, let's see, the Chicago Tribune archives. So after I was done looking up all my reviews, I looked up some Gladys Wallace reviews. McVicker's Theatre will open its doors Saturday night with a new star and a new dramatization of an old story. The new star is Gladys Wallace, who was a favorite at this theater in W.H. Crane's company 2 or 3 years ago, and who last year went starring through the South and West. She is a petite and charming actress with a dainty personality, and she's long been a great favorite with the better class of theatergoers. Myself personally, I have always been a favorite with the lower of theatergoers. That's what I like. It's just so great. I know you asked for. It's not a picture, but I just look how tiny this writing is on this piece of paper. Just the tiny. I'm sure it was bigger. This is a reproduction of a newspaper page, but tiny writing. These are all sports scores, and these are car racing and horse racing. And in the middle, this middle block right here, amusements. Prepare to be amused. Oh my God, you need a magnifying glass. Okay, no, I blew it up. Yeah. I mean, the theater reviews back in the day, nowadays it's just a little chunklet of information. But, I mean, I'm bringing all this up to show that she had some skills. Whatever defects, whatever faults the new star has, her personality is winsome in no small degree. Small of stature, slender of waist, graceful of movement, arch and delicate of feature. It just goes on and on. Gladys Wallace is altogether one of the most attractive young women on the stage. It was a play called Fanchon the Cricket. Tells the story of it's a comic opera Cinderella who wins the love of a rich and otherwise desirable young man. A little bit of foreshadowing there. This is, of course, before she'd met Insull. Miss Wallace, of course, was the main thing last evening. The theater was full of her friends. all of them doubtless eager to give a completely favorable verdict. And they were not chary of applause. Flowers were numerous, and every bouquet, as it was passed over the footlights, seemed to be a signal for enthusiastic cheering. In most cases, it goes on and on. In most cases, the encouragement given to the star was well-deserved. She overacted her part, sometimes distressingly, but that could be pardoned considering the circumstances. The fault was evidently due to nervousness, and there is good reason to believe that when the actress becomes accustomed to her new surroundings and ceases to fear fate and to doubt herself, it will disappear. Sounds familiar. She will have to be provided with a better play, however. Oh my God, it still goes on. She has considerable intelligence, and her body rapidly seizes and gracefully expresses the ideas in her mind. Were you paid by the word? I mean, my God, anybody reading horse scores is just going to glaze right over this. But she was an excellent soubrette. So remember that old word? It just means an actress who's flirty and vivacious, a soubrette. So she was known as that kind of character, but for a more refined audience. Now, the only evidence I could find, because all the reviews are pretty good, the only evidence I could find was that her shows lost money. There was a guy named by the name of E.H.R. Green, president of Texas and Midland Railroad, who sunk nearly $50,000 before he decided that the angel business, that means, you give money to a production so they can put it on, he decided that the angel business was less profitable than railroading. Fair enough. But yeah, that didn't stop him. She would appear in the newspapers regularly. In fact, sometimes just her picture with like 2 other actresses. This says 5 beautiful women of the American stage. There's no profile, there's no detail, there's no interview or anything. It's just, here's 5 beautiful women. Now shut up. All right, and yep, she met Insel at a party, and it was attraction at first sight. This is from the Chicago Daily Tribune, May the 20th, 1899, so just on the cusp of a new century. Samuel Insel to wed. This is like the front page. This is like right underneath the top of it, because that's just how rich this guy was. Miss Gladys Wallace, the actress, will be the bride. President of the Chicago Edison Company admits the betrothal. Because nobody knew. He got like surprised in his when seen at his apartments late in the evening. Mr. Insel expressed surprise that the news of his engagement had extended outside the circle of his intimate friends, and was unwilling to say more than to admit the truth of the report. He said the ceremony would take place, quote, very soon, declining to be more definite. I met Miss Willis in Samuel Insel talking. I met Miss Wallace in New York 2 years ago, he continued. But I must not say anything further. The fact that we were engaged has been known to my intimate friends in Chicago for some time, but I do not see how the story got out. I'm sure Miss Wallace would not like it. Right? I mean, that just makes me think she's spicy. I don't know. She's got attitude, and she's got a husband who listens to her. I mean, for 1899 metrics. Miss Wallace is pleasantly known in Chicago, where her stellar career was launched several years ago. She's been an actress for a number of years. She is one of the youngest of her sex to appear at the head of a company, her age being 24. But we got to get to the incident of Miss Wicks. All right, this is in the same story. While Miss Wallace was playing in Fanchon, Fanchon the Cricket, did I say? What was it? At St. Louis in November 1895, she had a quarrel with Miss Florence Lillian. Did I get that right? Yes, I did. Oh, I remember what I did. Florence Lillian Wicks, daughter of the vice president of the Pullman Palace Car Company, which resulted in Miss Wicks leaving the company. Miss Wallace played Fanchon and Miss Wicks Madeline. It seems there was some jealousy between them, and it was said Miss Wicks displayed her dislike for Miss Wallace on the stage and even scratched her neck with some thorny roses. Miss Wallace, in giving her version of it, they asked Gladys her version, and here's what she said. I do not consider her my equal. And I have had nothing to do with her since I gave her 2 weeks' notice. Damn. I like that a lot. All right. Samuel Insull weds Miss Bird at the residence of the bride's mother in New York. They will make a wedding journey to Europe, returning finally to Chicago. Now, he didn't build the opera house for her. She was not a singer. She was an actress, but she left it all behind. Just gave it up as soon as she got married. And devoted herself to being like a good wife and a helpmeet, as they used to say. Being a good society person, hosting dinners. She had a mansion up in Libertyville, I think. One on Lakeshore Drive, and they even had like a studio space in the actual opera house where you could go up and hang out up there and take a nap. I don't know. But in 1910, an article showed up in the Tribune titled "The Love of a Man, These Women Say, is Worth More Than a Glorious Career." Right? Marie LaSalle, who ran away from her master, was a profile of like six different performers who went on to marry and leave their dreams of being an artist, I guess. I don't know Marie LaSalle. Ran away from her masters in Europe to return to America and marry the man she loved is not the first, as she will not be the last, to cast aside a chance for fame in favor of a hope for happiness. I know, Dana, right? So they eventually start talking about Gladys. It took petite Gladys Wallace, better known by many as, quote, the Pocket Venus, a long time to decide between fame and matrimony. She loved Samuel Insull dearly, but she loved her art, oh, so much. Loved her art, so much. Oh, I love these writing days. Since the time when Mr. Crane, in the head of the family, told... Mr. Crane was the producer, was the one who sort of contracted her and hired her to go around to all these different towns. She told her that she probably shouldn't get married. Why? Because she would make an emotional cook. Keep my brain around that one. It was said she thought there could be no place but the stage for her. She said, "For it is a wonderful thing to make an impression on such a man as Mr. Crane," she told her lover soberly, and for a long, long time she held out while he wooed her desperately. Finally, however, love won the battle. Gladys Wallace sat down and considered how much fame would be to her without one Samuel Insull. And when she arose from her chair, she was ready and eager to say the little word yes, and become the wife of the well-known Chicago businessman and former president of the Chicago Edison Company. I got to that. It ends by talking about someone named Mary Anderson, who was a big star who left the stage. Beautiful Mary Anderson, exclamation point. And there are so many others, if one had only the time to tell of them, women to whom the primitive condition of woman has meant more than any other condition of life a gay world had to offer. Primitive condition of life. So, Gladys Wallace stepped off of the stage in 1899 and stepped back onto the stage in 1925. She was gone for 26 years from the stage, but at a certain point, throwing parties and raising money and being a social climber or whatever, she couldn't lose the bug, And I've been in acting 25, 30 years. I can sort of understand that. I mean, I still haven't let it go, obviously. I'm doing West Side Story, which is needed. Once you sort of have it, you have it. And when you have all the resources at your disposal, you've got she had her own fortune as well, and assets, which she had to forfeit later on. We'll get to that. But when you've got everything at your disposal and you're looking for a new way to occupy your time, why not throw yourself up on the stage playing an 18-year-old? On the bare, drafty stage of the Illinois Theater yesterday, Mrs. Samuel Insull, wife for more than 20 years of the magnate of public utilities, became Gladys Wallace, star of the play again. Among the scattered chairs and the tables that are making shift to be the scenery for Sheridan's School of Scandal, until the real scenery arrives, she asserted her newfound philosophy and explained her weapon against the foe of growing old. Here's what she said. One must interest oneself in creative work. It is thrilling to be back on the stage again. If, as they have told me, I look younger than I did before these rehearsals. I've read that more than once, actually. But, we'll just have to take all of their words for it. I don't know. It is because I have been studying to play a part again. Creative work, whether it is acting, writing, or painting, anything creative, keeps a woman young. And she got great reviews. I couldn't find any. There was like a nasty thing in the New Yorker that because they transferred it from Chicago to New York. There's a nasty thing in the New Yorker. It was like, look at this rich bitch trying to take on this production. Well, she looks like she's having fun up there. For doing the show that she paid for. But in Chicago, they ran it here, and it was done as the pretext of it was to raise money for a hospital. That Mr. Insull was on the board of. I have encountered no better all-around performance of the comedy, and I have seen as many as have been given in the long time I have been going to the theater. But she's referred to as Mrs. Insull in the program here, naturally. Mrs. Insull was expert and delightful, picking up where she had left off when the century was in its beginning. That's kind of a way to phrase that. Yep, really dug it. And of course, I mean, it's really hard to find any sort of coverage of her life because she really did go to live sort of the quiet, rich life. You know, it wasn't like she was doing interviews anymore, and she always never much liked doing interviews. But of course, if you're putting on a new show and you want to publicize it, you got to go and talk to magazines and newspapers, and you got to answer the tough questions about your craft, your art, what motivates you. I'm kidding. This is an article titled "Keeping Young." Many in Chicago society had forgotten, and a few vaguely remembered that Gladys Wallace had been a successful young actress when she left the stage to become Mrs. Samuel Insull. Her return, which incidentally marked a record-breaking feat in the history of Chicago philanthropy, was inspired by a desire to help amass funds for the benefit of St. Luke's Hospital Building Fund. Mrs. Insull's appeal to the eye, both in the Chicago production and later on Broadway, was the subject of enthusiastic comment by every reviewer of drama. On the trail, always for first-hand hints on how to keep young and beautiful, we called on Mrs. Insull to the Ritz-Carlton with a list of queries as to mentally tabulated as to how one keeps her figure, a youthful neckline, complexion, etc. We found in Mrs. Insull not a dispenser of dietary advice, nor a giver of platitudinous rules about personal hygiene and physical upkeep.
Hi, it's Deirdre.
Hi, Deirdre. Can I answer? No, that's okay. I love talking to prank callers and the wrong numbers and stuff. So I would love to have put it up to the microphone. So she got into it. It wasn't all about. She didn't talk about what she used on her face or anything like that. She said women age because they let their mind atrophy. A recent experience will illustrate. A friend of former years whom I had not seen for some time, and I had a reunion. We were worlds apart, I found, after a short time together. She had remained practically stationary insofar as her mental activities were concerned. This thing shocked her, and that thing shocked her. They were not shocking things. Simply progress in the world of events. She just didn't keep abreast of things. Rather than exert herself, she found it easier to condemn. And as is invariably the case, she was old physically and mentally. Sounds like her friend became an anti-masker. 10 minutes. Great. This thing shocked her, that thing shocked her. Right. I firmly believe the eternal springs of youth are in the mind. The sluggish, undeveloped mind and the sluggish, slow-moving body are companions as an almost invariable rule. If the mentality works, the organic demands are met. And she goes on and on. She as well she should, because this is not bad stuff. At 40, there's a certain outline stamped in the course of nature that cannot be interfered with. No one is deceived by the synthetic beauty, but the synthetic beauty herself. Every stage has its development. Youth has tremendous beauty. When the bloom of youth is gone, there is the ripe fruition of years and experience to take its place. I believe in meeting exigencies. I believe in meeting stuff as well as possible, but not in trying to achieve the impossible, which I think a woman is doing when she puts her all in the battle for youth, which must be lost in the end. Dum, dum, dum. She also believed in body massage as an aid to elimination. So there's that. She had that going for her. She had a secret perfume recipe. Okay. And I can relate to this one, applause. Applause administered privately or publicly, she believes a wonderful ingredient in the formula for youth retention. In no small measure, it contributes to the eternal youthfulness of the actress. Please keep that in mind in 5 minutes if I manage to fill them. So he went off on his on the lam, as it were, escaping not only the law, because he was being brought up on antitrust for bilking all these people out of their life savings. But I mean, that's 600,000 people who just lost their life savings. It might not be safe to walk down a Chicago street or an American street. Time to hit the France, and they all went. They had one son that went with them. But when he was caught in Turkey, he was extradited and taken alone back to Chicago, and it wasn't seen as being important or necessary to have the wife and son immediately pick up roots and fly out there. I just hoped he would come back soon, I think, and do a trial and come on back. But apparently, at a certain point, it looked like that wasn't the way things were going to go. Things were looking dire. His name was being trashed all over the papers. So, wife returns to help incel over hardship. Son nervous during interview. So it's basically a you are there picture of her disembarking the boat or the train that brought her. She disembarked a boat in New York, came to Chicago, disembarked there, came off the train, and greeted the press for the first time in like 25 years. And there, Mrs. Insel said in the courses of an interview, with an appealing upward glance at newspaper men and just the shadow of a smile about her small mouth, she said, "I think the most effectual women are the unselfish ones. Women's greatest métier should be to soften the hardships in life which their men have to meet." How about that? A prolonged silence followed this remark. And veteran newspaper men stared somberly at the figures in the oriental rug at their feet or gently scraped matches to light cigarettes. Even Samuel Insel Sr., seated beside his wife, turned a deep red. And the ironic smile which had curled his lips most of the time he had listened to the interview gave way to an expression of solemnity. She was pleasant. She was polite. She was good with the media. There was just one moment where she was coming off the train, the photographers were there, and she was like, "Do they have to do that?" And the son was like, "Yes, Mom, they have to do that. Could you folks we'll do everything you need. Just meet us at the place where we, you know. And she did. She gave like a press conference, and they all gathered together on a couch and posed together, smiling. And eventually, Insel was acquitted. The jury took 2 hours, but they would later confess that it was such an open and shut case that they took 2 hours to just sit around and stare at each other in the fear that they would be accused of being paid off. And they left town again. They moved back to Greece and lived out their lives there in matrimonial harmony. So see, that story, it's perfect in a way. Good guy, you know, and I'm here. I came not to bury Gladys Wallace, but to praise her. Any other quick hits? Any other notes? Anything else I missed? Oh, yeah. The reason why we think it was an opera house is Citizen Kane. Or why we think he built it for, because it was Mankiewicz, right? If anybody saw that movie Mank on Netflix, he was the screenwriter of Citizen Kane, and he pulled from this or that anecdote. It was mostly Hearst, William Randolph Hearst, but it was kind of Samuel Insull as well. So I said there was like one little bad review of her performance in New York, but there was another one, partially completed, by none other than Mankiewicz, who was working as like the third stringer at the New York Times, right? And he went out to see her performance. School for Scandal, she was playing Lady Teasley, an ingenue role for which she was a tad mature, as it says. So Mankiewicz, then the third string critic for the New York Times, reviewed it, or tried. After several drinks, he plunked himself down in the press room, typed the sentence, Miss Gladys Wallace, an aging, hopelessly incompetent amateur, opened last night in... and passed out cold. And that years later, he recycled that incident for Citizen Kane as a scene depicting Leland's unfinished review of Susan Alexander Kane's operatic debut, being finished by Kane himself at the typewriter. Okay, I think I got to all of it. Was that an hour? All right. Thanks, everybody. Wear your masks. Sometimes just for fun.
Closing remarks?
Any questions? You guys had a Q&A the last time, right?
Question? Yes.
Sure.
Okay.
So there's all these films being shot in Chicago. What were the premieres like? Was film premieres even like a thing back then? Like, did the SNA have like a red carpet?
It was mostly about distribution. That's what SNA was probably worried about. No, I don't think there were a whole lot of like big deluxe red carpet premieres. I don't know. I can't remember reading about any of them. I mean, it was tough enough to find a place to show these things. You know, the market for movie houses was pretty sparse, and there was a lot of. It's completely unlike today, when there's sort of a glut of the market, and distributors can sort of refuse to pay these people a living wage. I worked at the Three Penny Cinema for a few years, and that was always the hang-up, just how much you had to pay to show the film versus what you were taking in, you know. And it's a difficult battle to fight, but yeah, I don't know. That's eminently Googleable. First red carpet premiere.
Any other questions?
Anything else?
So I'm assuming the one that fought with Miss Wallace, the Florence from Pullman, is that where Pullman named his hotel, the Hotel Florence? Is that what he named his? Because that's his daughter, right? You said?
Insull's daughter?
No, Pullman's daughter.
Oh, Pullman's daughter. Oh,
Yes.
well, thank you. Okay, there you go. Yes.
Okay, then
Yes.
it sounds like, I didn't
Yes.
realize his daughter was an actress, so I knew it.
There you go. Oh, I'm so glad when the audience does half my work for me.
But I learned that she was an actress. I didn't know she was an actress.
Any other questions?
Thank you so much. Stay warm, everybody. We'll see you again next week, right?
Yeah.
And here's Patty to tell you all about it.
Thank you guys again for attending. Hopefully you all enjoyed that. And now you can correct everyone who goes on a boat tour and tells you some fabulous story about Samuel Insull, which is decidedly untrue. As a friendly reminder, we are here due to the generosity of our hosts at Room 13, so please tip your bartenders, be polite, be patient. Thank you guys so much for coming. We will be back here in person. There are plenty of ways to donate on your way out. And yeah, so originally next week's lecture was going to be a virtual lecture, but we actually managed to turn it into an in-person lecture. So keep your eyes out. Tomorrow morning we'll have that event up and ready for registration.
I was just gonna ask. I didn't see no tickets.
Yeah. So don't worry, if you want to come next week, you can. And again, registration will be open tomorrow morning. And until then, you know, you can always tune in online as well.
What's the subject?
The subject next week, well, Miss Olivia in the back can tell you everything about it. She is one of our most fabulous volunteers. She's now a speaker, and she will be speaking about the legacy of the French in Chicago. The lecture is titled Parlez-vous Chicagoan? So, Paris on the Prairie, there's many words from French that permeate our city, and you can learn all about them next week. Thank you guys for coming, and again, get some more drinks, hang out, and most importantly,
Donate.
donate. Thank you guys.
I'll say it for you, Ben. Yeah, well, you kept saying there's gonna be a talk.
Oh, applause isn't necessary.
You said there's gonna be a talk next week. I couldn't.
Thank you so much. This is lovely.